afternoon. This is news around the world on Pensioners FM 106.7 Agbarigo Nireke Ibadan. I am VIOLA ORJIAGU. First, the top stories. Atiku raises a warning alarm to government to address the problem of out-of-school children in the country. A British judge dismisses series of charges against Agnes Taylor, the former wife of jailed ex-Liberian President Charles Taylor. The White House indicates it will not take part in further impeachment hearings in Congress. And in sports, Lampard admits Chelsea will be on the lookout for new faces in the January window transfer. Former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has raised the alarm that the fight against insurgency could be a mirage if conscious efforts were not made by government to address the problem of out-of-school children in the country. Atiku, who was the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last general elections, stated this while addressing the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Tertiary Education Trust Fund. He said the people of the Northeast region had been at the mercy of Boko Haram insurgents, saying that the development had led to a drastic reduction in enrollment in tertiary education. Atiku, however, urged the federal parliament to monitor budgetary allocation to the education sector to avoid diversion. The senator representing Adamawa Central, Senator Aisha Benani, said insurgency had restrained students from the Northeast region from moving outside their immediate zone to seek learning in tertiary institutions, which had led to a drastic reduction in enrollment. Wife of Omoyele Sowore, the convener of the Revolution Now protest and publisher of Sahara Reporters, Obe Sowore, has sent a message to President Muhammadu Buhari that she and her children are waiting for the return of her husband. She said she had no clear roadmap on how to handle the situation, but that she had sent appeals to the United Nations and had been working with Amnesty International and many other organizations to help raise awareness and hopefully help to secure the release of her husband. Officials of the Department of State Services, DSS, invaded the Federal High Court in Abuja to arrest Sowore, who was released alongside his co-defendant, Olawale Bakare, after spending over 3 months in the DSS custody. The DSS also defied the court order that granted them bail, even after meeting their bail conditions and in spite of several appeals and protests to secure their release. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has condemned the invasion of a court in Abuja by operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS. In a statement he personally signed, Professor Soyinka asked President Muhammadu Buhari to call the agency to order. He issued the statement hours after DSS operatives who came in at least 3 pickup trucks stormed the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja in a bid to rearrest Omoyele Sowore. In his reaction, Soyinka likened the incident to what he called lessons from the African wild dog. According to him, disobedience calls to disobedience, and the disobedience of the others would only lead to the disregard of the authority of other arms of civil society by the people. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has sent a condolence message to the family of its leaders, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the entire community of Afara Ukwu community over the death of his father and traditional ruler of Afara Ukwu, His Royal Majesty Eze Sir Israel Ukwu Kanu. IPOB, in a statement by its media and publicity secretary, Ima Powerful, attributed the death of the traditional ruler to complications arising from the trauma of the invasion of his palace by Nigerian soldiers on September 14, 2017, and most recently the shock of the sudden death of his wife, Ugoeze Sali Memwoku Kanu. Powerful said they are left without doubt that the military attack on Isiama Afaruku and the Kanu family by the armed forces of the federal government of Nigeria is the principal cause of death in their leader's parents. They said their leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, sacrificed his parents in pursuit of freedom for the people of Biafra, adding that there is no greater act of devotion to a noble cause and service to the people of Biafra than this. The Osun House of Assembly wants the Ministry of Home Affairs to come up with innovative ideas and strategies that can boost its activities and performance for it to adequately support the drive of the Oyetola-led administration to increase its internally generated revenue. The chairman, House Committee on Home Affairs, Culture and Tourism, Adeyinka Adetoyi, made the call during an interactive session with the Ministry of Home Affairs at the Parliamentary Room of the Assembly Complex in Osogbo. Adetoyi explained that the interactive session between the House Committee on Home Affairs, Cultural and Tourism with the official and agencies under the Ministry of Home Affairs is necessary for them to rub minds and seek for better ways of situating the ministry to increase its IGR. Chairman of the committee, along with other members, expressed optimism that the ministry could assist in the state's drive to increase its IGR if the ministry can be innovative in its activities that can in turn become revenue earner. A British judge has dismissed series of charges against Agnes Reeves Taylor, the former wife of jailed ex-Liberian President Charles Taylor. 54-year-old Reeves Taylor had been due to face charges of torture and conspiracy to commit torture during the early years of Liberia's 14-year civil war period at the United Kingdom's Old Bailey Criminal Court. She has remained in custody since her arrest in 2017 and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial had been on hold after her lawyers lodged an appeal at the Supreme Court over her status or otherwise as a person acting in an official capacity, a requisite to try a defendant for torture under international humanitarian law. The appeal proved successful and the charges were dropped. Among the 8 charges brought against Reeves Taylor were the torture of a child who was allegedly tied to a tree and forced to witness several shootings, and complicity in rapes committed by members of Taylor's National Patriotic Front of Liberia. On Trump impeachment, the White House has indicated it will not take part in further impeachment hearings against President Donald Trump in the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee in Congress due next week. In a letter sent to the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, it urges Democrats to end the inquiry now. The letter does not explicitly rule out attending, but officials told U.S. media that the administration saw no reason to take part in an unfair process. President Donald Trump is alleged to have pressured Ukraine in a way that would help him politically. A deadline for the administration to decide whether to send a legal representative or witnesses to the House Judiciary Committee has been passed across. The committee is in the process of drawing up articles of impeachment against Trump, leading to a vote in the House of Representatives before a trial in the Senate, possibly early in January. A United States jury has found out that Elon Musk did not defame a British caver who helped in last year's rescue of trapped Thai schoolboys by calling him a pedo guy. Vernon Onsworth sought $190 million in damages from the Tesla founder, arguing that the tweets damaged his reputation. A public row broke out between the two men over the rescue of 12 boys trapped in a Thai cave in June 2018. Speaking to reporters outside the courtroom after the jury reached its decision, Musk said his faith in humanity is restored. Onsworth's lawyer, Lynn Wood, said their side would leave the court with their heads held high, but that the decision was not a good verdict for society. U.S. naval officials have said the gunman who killed 3 people at a U.S. naval base in Pensacola, Florida, was a Saudi student. He has been named as Mohammed Saeed al-Shamarani, a Saudi military member in training at the site after he was shot dead by officials. The local sheriff's office confirmed the 8 others were injured in the attack, including 2 officers. It is the second shooting to take place at a U.S. military base this week. On Australia bushfires, Australian fire officials have warned that a mega blaze raging across a 60 kilometers from northwest of Sydney cannot currently be put out. The fire across almost 300,000 hectares is just an hour's drive from the nation's most populous city. People who cannot defend their property from approaching fires have been asked to leave immediately. Since October, bushfires have killed 6 people and destroyed more than 700 homes across Australia. The severity of the blazes so early in the fire season has caused alarm and prompted calls for greater action to tackle climate change. Fires, according to reports, have also raged across Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Nepali police have arrested the brother-in-law of a woman who died in a so-called menstruation hut. Pabati Buddha Rawat, aged 21, was found dead after suffocating from a fire she lit to stay warm in the hut. It is believed to be the first arrest for Trupadi, an outlawed practice which considers women impure during their periods and after childbirth. If convicted, the man faces 3 months in prison and a fine of 3,000 Nepali rupees. Police in the Western Akan district said they are investigating whether the 25-year-old suspect, Chitaria Rawat, forced Miss Rawat to stay in the hut. However, it is unclear if he has been charged. It is Pensioners 106.7 FM. We will be back with some entertainment and sports stories. In the world of entertainment, Netflix released the first trailer for its upcoming thriller, Messiah, this week and inadvertently revealed a major plot twist to many Muslim viewers. The show centers on a Christ-like man who performs miracles around the world. But the character's name is a huge nod to Dajjal, the false prophet in Islamic theology comparable to the Antichrist. Many Muslims and Arabic speakers guessed that the Messiah was Dajjal and joked they would need to grab a prayer mat after watching the trailer. Chelsea manager Frank Lampard admitted the club will be on the lookout for new faces in the January window after a FIFA-imposed transfer ban was reduced on appeal by the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS. The ban imposed following violations in the recruitment of minors was reduced from 2 transfer windows to 1, which Chelsea already served in the summer. A fine was also reduced from 600,000 Swiss francs to half the amount by the Lausanne-based court. Lampard insisted he had not yet had any conversations with the Chelsea's board about transfer plans, but will start them in earnest. To end news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM, here is a recap of the main stories. Atiku has raised a warning signal to government to address the problem of out-of-school children in the country to avoid insurgency. A British judge has dismissed a series of charges against Agnes Taylor, the former wife of jailed ex-Liberian President Charles Taylor. The White House has indicated its lack of interest in further impeachment hearings in Congress. And in sports, Lampard has admitted Chelsea will be on the lookout for new faces in the January window transfer. For any information, contact us on these mobile numbers 081-200-86270 or 080-223-73535 or visit us at Oyo State Pensioners House at Barigo Oniweke, Ibadan. The news editor is Omobalaji Akintola, assisted by Michael Adeyemo. On behalf of the production crew, I am VIOLA ORJIAGU. Good afternoon.